Good morning, Seahawks, faculty, and guests. My name is Mr. King. I'm your host and fellow Seahawk, representing our North Campus. You can find me on Instagram at Meet Mr. King for your source of inspiration. We're back with another episode of our Who Are You series here at Broward College. It's a career exploration series where students will be able to learn about various types of careers within their pathway, educational paths available at Broward College for their students in those fields, and you get to hear from working professionals and advisors within the pathway to learn about how to be successful in the industry. This series is meant to help those that are currently thinking about school, enrolled in school, or it's been some time and you're thinking about coming back or choosing a different career path you can take here at Broward College. Continue to follow us on Broward College Student Life North Campus's page for upcoming episodes and for just some feedback. We want to hear from you. Today, we have two special guests representing the education pathway. I'm a big advocate on education. If you don't know, you don't grow. Allow me to introduce academic advisor Gina Joseph and Broward College alum and professor Eileen Santiago. Ladies, thank you so much for
Hello.
joining us. How are you? How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm excellent. Thanks so much for asking. Miss Santiago?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking.
Excellent, excellent. All right, ladies, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey here at Broward College. Miss Joseph, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Absolutely. Again, Gina Joseph, pathway advisor for the education field. I work on Central Campus, and how I ended up at Broward College. Passionate about education, been in the field of academic advising for 10 years now. Um, and on Central Campus, you're assigned a particular pathway, and I was assigned the education pathway, small but mighty. And yeah, I advise all the students who are um, pursuing any kind of degree, specifically AA, and plan on applying to the bachelor's programs in education.
Excellent, excellent. 10 years. That is amazing. And I was checking some of those credentials. You have a master's as well. We're going to get a little bit into that a little later on, but thank you so much for introducing yourself. Miss Santiago.
Hi. Tell you a little bit about me. I graduated in 2011 from Broward College. I obtained my associates and my bachelor's. So I'm a very proud Seahawk. And a month after I graduated, I was hired to teach in Broward County Public Schools. I taught for 6 years and then had the opportunity to come back where I started. And just happy to be back. I've been at BC for 3 years as a professor of reading in the teacher education program. Super awesome to now be able to work with my past professors who are now my colleagues, and just a great team to be with.
That is amazing. Welcome back. We love having you here as well. Tell us, just to continue, Miss Santiago, what do you get out of teaching?
Wow, it gives me everything. I think it's just so important to know that as teachers, we do more than educate. We motivate, we inspire. We're social workers, we're nurses. We bring so much to the table. And being at Broward College, I was able to learn and bring all these different, like a toolbox. I left with a toolbox that I was able to bring in. And then there is just a few, other moments where you're not sure what to do. You obtain a degree, but it doesn't really tell you how to get prepared for everything. But I'll tell you that at BC, I was able to always call back, get some help if I needed some. I always had that mentorship. So it wasn't like, so now you graduated, so we're going to check off the box and you're done. We're done with you. We're not going to support you. So to me, education is ongoing, and that's something that I learned at BC. I received it at BC, and now I'm doing the same as a reading professor. I'm always connected with my students, either via email, phone, social media, to make sure that I'm here to support them in their path in the education.
I love that you have an experience from both sides of the fence. You were a student, and then you came back helping out, and your colleagues. Just being a part of the family, it really helps us all grow. As a student myself, I spoke about it in a couple of interviews before, how much my professors really helped me, not just academically, but like you said, like a mentor. And as big as our school is, so many students are afraid to ask for help, or they feel nervous or feel like the teachers are overwhelmed, and they don't want to ask for help. Can you tell me a little bit about what that experience was like for you when you were a student and you did need some support? How was it reaching out to who are your now colleagues?
It was awesome. They were always there. Sometimes it was positive, and sometimes it was like, you got to get this going. So sometimes it was tough love, but they were always available. And like I said, when I became a teacher, I was always able to contact them via email and say, hey, I'm having trouble really understanding this assignment, or not really an assignment, but maybe I'm implementing a lesson, and I was horrible at it. So then I could come back and say, hey, any tips, any advice? I also learned about grants through the program, and I just fell in love with writing grants and finding ways to bring funds into my classroom, so that I didn't have to tell tell the parents, hey, I need you to buy certain things. I was able to have this awesome classroom that was funds were provided by grants. So it was definitely easy. BC, the teacher education program, we're literally a phone call away, always there for me.
Excellent. And now I know who to call when they're speaking about grants and education. I know who to stop by and see. Now, before they come and see you, they got to cross through and see Miss Joseph.
Yes.
Miss Joseph, as an academic advisor, I would love to hear, just what you love about doing what you do and advising our students to make decisions that are going to affect their life.
Um, it's a calling. I would definitely say that. There's nothing about the field of education that I don't like, and I love to be able to provide insight to students about what courses they need to take to be able to move through and move closer to degree completion. From students that are coming in knowledgeable not about anything that college is, to seeing them in their last semester saying, oh my gosh, I'm going to be applying to my next institution, or I'm going to be I just got accepted into Broward's program in education, the bachelor's level. It's really exciting to see them go from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum, and knowing that you contribute to that as a professional. You contribute to students being successful, helping them develop goals both personally, professionally, academically. It's an excellent field to be in.
I agree with you. I have some classmates who are in your path as well, and they have nothing but great things to say about the pathway. And even as an academic advisor, there has to be a lot of trust built into that relationship, because I am making major decisions, and a lot of kids don't want to waste their time in school. So they are coming to you to really get that guidance. How do you build that trust in an initial meeting, or potential student who's ready to enroll in the college?
I think it definitely begins from that first advising appointment. You want to from then let the student know that what your role is, and that they're going to be getting accurate information from you. You want them to share with you what their plans are while they're here at Broward College. Of course, 100% of our students come in wanting to earn the degree and graduate, but there's so much that they can get involved in that complements their role in the classroom as students as well. Getting involved in student life and clubs and organizations and things of that nature, making sure they understand how to get connected to those offices, being able to give them point people when they have questions about areas that aren't necessarily in academic advising, being able to connect them to those offices, and being able to come up with an academic plan with the student, literally from their first semester to their last semester, and having them see all of the classes that are required for the degree, so that they are staying on track and they are able to make it to graduation, to be able to move forward with their goals.
Excellent, excellent. Now, and you touched on so many things in just that one answer, but I'm gonna break it down slow, and I'm gonna come to you from a student standpoint.
Okay.
I don't have any money, and
Ah,
I'm not sure. And I know financial aid is not, your expertise, but you have to have some kind of advising in there as well. For that person who says, you know what, I'm not too sure if I can afford to move forward. I'm gonna start with you, Miss Joseph, because I know you have these conversations. But Miss Santiago, you and I are gonna speak, because not only were you a student, but you see it on the other side too. So just tell me, how you helping me, Miss Joseph?
Ms. Santiago said it best. I think in education, we wear a lot of hats, regardless what your role is. And we have students that come in with a plethora of questions, concerns, and you want to be able to help them so that they're comfortable moving forward. And yes, financial aid isn't my area of expertise, but you want to be able to answer certain questions.
Hmm.
If a student is saying, I'm really interested in pursuing my education, but I don't have the funds, what can you recommend? On my end, I can show them how to access the financial aid website so they can at least get some basic information. I can show them how to get connected with a financial aid advisor, or how to access the application, the general application to apply for financial aid, because that's usually like the first step to see if the student's even eligible to receive any kind of aid. Scholarships are also an option for the student. So just getting them thinking about those things and then connecting them to the right people at the college is literally one of the first steps that as an advisor you can take to get the student to the right person to get accurate information.
Excellent answer. You may not have all the answers, but you're at least giving us the head start and then pointing us in the right direction so that we can get the answers that we need and get the funding that we need to go to school. Miss Santiago, same question. If I don't have any money, and I'm not sure what your history or past was being in school before you became an employee, but how did it work for you?
Okay, so I want to talk about two things. I'm going to tie in two things. I remember uh, my daughter had turned one, and I decided I want to go back to school. I wasn't sure. I kind of went back and forth, but I didn't have my associates. And I remember going to see an advisor. She's probably retired now, but I sat there with her, and she told me, like, you got this. She gave me a plan, and I looked at her, and I'm like, so you want me to do this? Long story, let's just say not only did I get my associates, but I also got my bachelor's. But I sat with her, and I told her it's been so many years, like, where do I start? But now I had a child, and I'm like, I got to get myself together. So I remember this advisor, she guided me. She knew everything, and whatever she didn't know, and this is what I tell my students, if I don't know, I'll ask someone who knows. So definitely, the advisor was someone that gave me light. They told me you can make this happen. So second part, I have students sometimes with those questions and they have those. So I give them a few tips and I tell them, I try to bring Dr. Angela Duckworth. Her book is it's about grit and grit. And I tell my students, passion and perseverance, you got to bring it. You got to bring it to me. I got to see it all the time. Okay. And so I tell them, first thing you got to do is go to your family. Tell them, hey, I want to go back to school. Can you help me out? I'll take any donations. This is just, let's say, after financial aid or whatever it is. I also tell them, skip a few outings. Maybe you go to the movies every week, pre-COVID, but hey, save that money and bring that money just in case you can't get financial aid. I also tell them once you're in school, there's so many options to get books. You can borrow the books. I've implemented an OER program, which means that all the resources for my class are on D2L. So they don't have to buy a book. So that $50, $60 book, you don't have to do it. All you got to do is get on your phone, jump on D2L, and there's your content. So I think that once you have that passion, that persevering kind of comes along, but you got to meet us halfway because we will be there for you. I saw it firsthand. And, there were some semesters that were better than others, but with the guidance of one, your advisors, and then your pathway, your team, student life, working with everyone, you'll make it happen.
Uh, I'm over here getting emotional because those were just such beautiful answers. Because even as a student, you're right. And the fact that you had the experience to say, you know what? If I can make it easier for my kids, let me just try to do everything in D2L. And for those of you who don't know what D2L is, it's our online system that we use to take our online classes. And of course, you could purchase the book, but a lot of professors are putting the material right there. So even online, as long as you can log in, you can go to school in the 10. And you also brought up a really great point too. One thing I always bring up my grandmother. She's like the matriarch of my family, but she always said, son, go get your education because that's the one thing they can't take from you. And that stuck with me for a long time. And it did really take perseverance. I had to want it because it was available, but I had to want it. The things that you mentioned in there about your family helping and that support system, I wanted to ask, is that what kept you from not giving up, but just moving forward? Because a lot of times when you start school, you're in the working world, you just had a baby, you just go, this might be a lot. What made you go, you know what, I'm going to keep moving forward and not give up on this?
For me in the education pathway, the assignments, I really fell in love with the assignments, getting just a typical book that you get at the library, but now implementing a lesson And then when you get out in the field and you're doing field experience hours and you're meeting kindergartners and third graders and you're in the cafeteria, I mean, that was it for me. I knew that's where I wanted to be. And once I was dedicated, I did not skip a semester. I knew that was my time. Obviously, before that, I did, take a few years off. And I was like, why did I wait so long? I don't want to do this. And I tell my students, don't take a semester off because you might get a little relaxed. You might like it. So,
Mhm.
and even now with us being remotely, with us being remote learning, I tell my students, do not stop. We will give you 100% online. It doesn't matter. So, just don't stop going to school.
Excellent. Thank you. And then Miss Joseph, I mentioned it a little earlier in the interview that you have a master's degree, which happens to be in higher education. You've been doing this for 10 years. Tell me what keeps you waking up in the morning going, I have to help these kids.
Knowing that there are new students every semester, it's not the same students. So new students need the information just like the others, your old students needed the information. So knowing that it's a never ending life is education is never ending. I personally believe that you are learning until the day that you are no longer breathing. So knowing that there's still information to be given out to individuals every day keeps you waking up and doing what you love. For me, anyway.
I love that. And I hope for those of you who are watching, you got your notes. There are some gems just flying all throughout this conversation. A major theme that you've both have mentioned is preparation and being prepared. Miss Joseph, if I'm coming to meet with you to ask you to advise me or help me, get on the path or stay on the right path and with my education, tell me, what is it that I need to be prepared with before I come and sit down and speak with you?
Any and all questions. I absolutely tell students there is no such thing as a dumb question. Write it down so that we can discuss it and get you an answer. And to make sure that you're asking the right individuals the questions to get the right answers. Because we have a lot of students that are like, my friend said, or my I have a cousin or an older sibling who graduated from BC a little while ago, and they said, and I'm like, processes and procedures change, catalog years change. You want to make sure that you're staying current and up to date, so making sure that you're writing down your questions, taking notes during the actual appointment, so that later on, if you forget what was said, you can go back to your notes and making sure you can review your notes. Taking contact information, name. A lot of times students will say, well, so and somebody at the college said, and I'm like, who? Can you give me a name? You want to be able to always take down the name of who you spoke to so that you can always refer back and give that name to someone who, if you're trying to recall information that you received. And just being open. This is all a learning experience. We're all learning. I learn from my students. They learn from me. It's just an open environment. This is what's beautiful about higher education, schools. It's everyone is there to learn. So just being open-minded and knowing and that we're all there to learn and we can learn from each other.
It's real easy to see why you have that master's degree now, because you have just a mindset of never stop learning and never stop growing. I truly believe in a growth mindset. We can acquire the skills to get better. We definitely can. And again, it goes back to research. In order to prepare, research where you are, research where you want to be, and got to be more self-aware, understand where your value is before you walk into a room of this nature to have this conversation. Eileen, I got a big one for you. Just look at me, Eileen, like we're friends. Miss Santiago, I have a question for you. And again, this is just something personal for me too, because I know educators. I have a 10-year-old daughter. I'm telling on myself, and I understand, and I see the work that has to go in from even from an elementary school point too. And I believe society is starting to recognize just how important our educators are, especially during COVID. How would you convince someone to jump on board and become an educator? Because they've had a stigma out there. It's just like the money's not there. You're not sure, but you've done it. You went to school and now you come back and you're giving back to your home in Broward College, and us Seahawks appreciate you. But how do you get someone else to jump on board and see how important this really is right now?
the I guess the first question when I have conversations with students at the college, or maybe when I have community events, I ask them, "Do you remember your favorite teacher? Who was your favorite teacher and why?" And then you get the first grade, seventh grade. I had this teacher who told me, come here, stay after class because I'm gonna help you out. Or when they called your house and they told your mom that you got an A, whatever it is. So I tell them these impacts that you hear about or that you remember, that's what teaching is about. Because we do remember those teachers that were a little tough on us, but when that teacher believed in you and motivated you and just helped you get that A, that is what I want. And I want that to be what we see in the classroom. I want amazing teachers. So when my students graduate, I want them to be amazing. I want them to bring the grit into the classroom so that now I taught one student in my class, or like, let's say one of my students, and now they're bringing that to 30 to 20, 30 students that they see. And so that's what I want to see. So I think that and again, I tell them, some of you guys fall in love with elementary, but high school's amazing. So is middle, because sometimes they're like, I want to be a kindergarten teacher and that's all I want. I'm like, I don't know. Think about it. So definitely when I had them understand the connection, and now let me tell you, our teachers are doing a great job during COVID teaching remote. I have alumni that are just being just just great leaders, okay? Because they're coming on, they have so many different situations. When you're looking at a screen and you have 20 students, you don't know what's going on at home. You don't know if these students ate breakfast. You don't know if they know someone that has COVID or someone that passed away. They're still logging on. So what are you gonna do? Not only to educate them, but to do a quick check-in. And I do SELs every week with my students, which is social emotional learning. I play a video. I just have a quick discussion before we even talk about class. How are you doing? And then I'm going to
Yeah.
show you what can we do when we get into the classroom, because we will now have a conversation with our students. So do you remember COVID? Do you remember this pandemic? That will be a conversation for many years. So I tell my students, you will be that teacher who will have a student come to you and say, I lost a cousin, or I got sick, whatever it is. So I tell them, this is something now that you're going to add into that toolkit, that social emotional learning, doing that check-ins. And how do I show them? I demonstrate it at the beginning of class.
That is beautiful. And your new nickname is not going to be Eileen Grit Santiago.
I
Uh,
actually tell them that. I tell them bring the grit, and I have a reading life. I have a club. It's called Reading Life on North Campus, and I tell them we did not get off the map because of COVID. We continue to bring the grit through the club. We have events coming up next month. We will continue bringing engaging events into the community, but now it's virtual.
That is beautiful. And again, it's that adaptability is what we need to keep moving forward. And it gives us that perseverance as you speak. And both of you really, really said, it's funny because I do a lot of reading, and I eventually want to own one of those companies that everyone goes, that is the best company to work for. And the number one thing I see within the thread is, are you taking care of your people? And the fact that you're having that SEL before you start is letting you know, even that 10 to 15 minutes, you might get something that lets that person know, you know what? They thought about me more than just the class. They thought about me. Miss Joseph, the same thing for you when you sit down and you said, when I asked you, what should you be prepared for? The fact that you want to say, keep it open. That means when we have a relationship, you're willing to know about what's happening in my life and what's going on with me to guide me in the right direction. And if no one has told either one of you, I want to let you both know that we truly appreciate what you do, because your impact is causing a ripple effect. And our children's children might remember, they may not remember, oh, it was Miss Joseph who did that. But if they were at Broward College and they tell people, oh, I started my career there because my advisor told me, and I just took off from there. You may not hear it every day, but that's your win in your heart to know that, you know what, I'm really doing something out there for this generation. And it really is going to take a village, ladies. And you two, even within the same pathway, are just doing amazing things for the students here at Broward College. And I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I just wanted to thank you truly for, sharing, giving us this opportunity to share. And Miss Joseph, if you can leave us with anything, I'll start with you. Any bit of advice that you leave with your children, again, with I call them your children already, but just any bit of advice that you would leave with a student before they walk away, or that person who is thinking about coming to school and they say, you know what, I'm glad I spoke to Miss Joseph. What do you think you might share?
Continue to learn, continue to grow. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Even if you think you may be asking the wrong individual, that person might be able to connect you with the person who's going to give you the accurate response. So don't be afraid to ask questions. See your academic advisor. It is important for every single student, whether you're degree seeking, non-degree seeking, you just want to stop in and take a class. Make sure you see an academic advisor so that they can get you on the correct path to taking the right classes toward degree completion. And have fun. Learning is fun. So have fun. Absolutely.
Beautiful. Your time has been amazing. Miss Joseph, if you want to leave any bit of information about your contact information, maybe your email address, or for anybody who's thinking about it, again, I want to get some kids in school. So if you're an
Absolutely.
open door, please share.
We are an open door. As I mentioned before, I am on Central Campus, but we have North Campus and South Campus and our partnership centers. And every single site has academic advisors. So if you come onto Central Campus, or right now we're working remotely. So as Ms. Santiago said, just because we're not in person doesn't mean the show stops. Nope, we find another way to keep persevering, keep doing what we need to do. I can be reached at gjoseph6 at broward.edu. Even if you're not necessarily interested in education, I can get you connected to the right pathway advisor who can answer your questions for you. Regardless of campus, we can, like I said, get you connected and speaking to the right person to make that move forward.
Beautiful. Miss Joseph, thank you so much for your time. If you guys haven't checked it out, again, it's gjoseph6 at broward.edu. And again, if she doesn't have the answers or that may not be your pathway, she's such a sweet, listen to this
Yeah.
sweet hair. She will help get you into the right direction. She
Absolutely.
also, I failed to mention, she's wearing these headsets in the middle of an interview because she's always grinding for her students. And she's probably on her way out of here right now to go meet with another. So
I am. I actually am. I am.
guys, I swear, magic balls right here. But thank you so much, Miss Joseph, for your time. You've been amazing. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Miss Santiago, Miss Eileen Grit Santiago, please, if you can leave us with some advice. Again, you get it on both sides of the spectrum. You are an educator, but you are also a student. You're a mom. You got it all. Please leave some advice for these kids or these potential students that we could have joining us here at Broward College.
I'll definitely bring it back to what Ms. Joseph said about learn and have fun. We do not stop learning. I learn from everyone. I learn from my students, from children, from people that I meet in the community. So I definitely encourage you to check out our pathway, broward.edu/education, and also follow my reading club, even if you're not going to be in the club yet. But you can always learn about awesome events. We have some story times coming up on Mondays, and we have a Top Chef, a virtual Top Chef that's coming up next month. So definitely, please follow us on Instagram. Our club is Reading Life LYF. So again, READING LYF, so that you can learn more about what we're doing to bring the grit into the classroom by having some fun time reading. Okay, so that's it for me.
Beautiful. And I'm over here following right now, Reading Life. Thank you so much, ladies. You've made this amazing. I honestly feel comfortable wearing pink because of you two. I've had a great time. Thank you so much for your answers, your transparency, and your love. Seahawks, this is your host, Mr. King. Thank you so much for attending another great episode of our Who Are You series here at Broward College North Campus. Have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you.